Welcome to the show. I'm Jason McIntyre. Coming up, we'll tell you if everything's really back to normal for the Patriots and why the Warriors could be headed for a clean sweep. Speak for yourself starts now? Okay, right? You like that. You like that. Hello and welcome.
I didn't like the now.
Cowherd and Whitlock are off today, so I'm joined now by NBA champ Steven Jackson, Fox NBA analyst Jim Jackson, and Chris Broussard. Let's start in the NBA Finals, or as I like to call it, the Comedy Central roast of J.R. Smith. With Golden State now up 2-0, LeBron hasn't had much to laugh about, but he did have a pretty good sense of humor today when asked about his behavior in the huddle after JR's soul-crushing Game 1 blunder.
You have been getting criticized for not trying to pick up your teammates during that time. Is that fair criticism, not being in your shoes?
Me? Me being criticized? No. You saying I got criticized for something, right? No, I don't believe that. Not me. I don't care. I don't care at all. I mean, we're in the NBA Finals. I mean, how much more picking up teammates you want me to do? We're in the NBA Finals to compete for a championship. All right, appreciate it.
Oh, boy, here we go. Jim, got any issue with how LeBron handled that Game 1 disaster?
Well, I do from a leadership perspective,
Yes.
just because of the body language. Steve, you've been in this situation where a teammate messes up, okay? And as a leader, that's when you're defined about leadership, when times are tough. When things are going well, yeah, you can do anything, but not to say anything to JR at that critical time, because you still got overtime. The game is not over. But because of how you react or didn't react, I saw the 2-minute, 30-second video of that when it was just from up high and you could see the body language. Yep. At first, no one really talked to JR. You slapped him on the hand a little bit, then Hood came in and guys talked. But LeBron, after he got his question answered about the timeout, talking to Ty Lue, the hand on the head, the frustration, that led to everybody else being a little quiet. They didn't know what to say to JR because the leader himself didn't take command.
He wouldn't even look at JR.
And that's the toughest part because, Steve, as you know this, as a teammate, whether you're LeBron or somebody else, having a voice on the team is so important, especially when something goes wrong. That's when you really need to step up. I don't care if it's like, bruh, you know what? It was a mistake. It's over. Let's move on to overtime.
No, I agree. Look, I get where LeBron's coming from. He's like, look, just know the score.
Right.
All right?
No, I get it.
And then looking at Ty Lue, just know when we got a timeout, call the timeout. I get where he's coming from, but you're exactly right. Not only is the game not over, the series isn't over. Even if the game were over, you still got a series to play. It's only the first game. And LeBron did not set a good tone leadership-wise. And here's the thing. Yes, JR blew an opportunity, but as bad as it was, I think people are overblowing it a little. He didn't cost them the game. I would bet, I'd love to get LeBron to look in that situation. I'd love JR to go back up with it or whatever. But in most cases, they probably wouldn't have scored. In most cases, you don't score in a situation like that. So LeBron had to get himself right. He didn't shoot for like 2 minutes in the overtime. So he wasn't right either. And obviously the rest of his team wasn't.
Whether or not they scored, Chris, they need to know in that situation there's a timeout left. Whether it's Ty Lue, LeBron, the leader.
Apparently
how do you
know?
Listen, LeBron has a photographic memory where after a Celtics game, he can recount every turnover he had. Yet here we are, Game 1 of the Finals, 4 seconds left. He didn't know they had a timeout. Guys, I know LeBron's been incredible through 2 games, but to me, Steven, that's awful for LeBron not to know they had a timeout.
Yeah, I look at this 2 different ways. I played with Tim Duncan. And it's a lot of times I was the emotional guy. I made a lot of mistakes, not knowing plays, coming out of timeout, being young. And a lot of times I come out the game just frustrated. Even with Tim, Tim's frustrated with me. But the way he stayed into the game, the way he kept his composure, it was contagious around the whole team, regardless of what was going wrong. If a team went on a run, you need your star player engaged at all times, regardless of what's going on. LeBron should have called his teammates in, look, we made a mistake. We still have a chance to win this game in overtime. Let's focus on that. But I understand him getting frustrated, too. You get 51, 8, and 8, and one person can't make a free throw, one can't know the score, one can't call a timeout. Like, what more? You say I'm the coach. Should I actually be the coach and call a timeout?
But, Steven, did it not carry into overtime? LeBron was 0 for 4 in overtime. He looked like he was checked out, right? We've seen him check out before. And he got in that moment with Steph Curry where he shoved him. It seemed like that rattled him. And, you know, you could argue it really changed the series.
Let's backtrack. LeBron has been the most talented, dominated player on his team since probably grade school.
Yeah.
So he's dealt with players that are not up to his level. So he's dealt with this before. In high school, listen, he could have averaged 50 in high school, okay? But he chose not to because he needed his teammates in order to win big. His first iteration at Cleveland, when they went to the finals, you know the team. Nobody was up, so he's been through where he has to carry, and he understands where that leadership to go. And sometimes that raw emotion that you want to let go, we want to see, sometimes you got to contain that in those situations because in that point, Steve, as you know as a professional, it feeds negativity to the rest of the team.
And it's contagious.
And it's contagious.
But at the same time, like we have to understand that his team, LeBron is one of the best teammates you can have.
Exactly.
So people talking about supporting your teammates, how much more you want him to support his teammates. He's carried them all year. They get so many open shots, they're not making them. So I don't understand the narrative of him not supporting his teammates. He's supporting them. He just needs them to do their job.
But Steven, you saw the one guy in that huddle clapping was Kyle Korver, trying to get the negativity out and get them excited for overtime and let's rally, let's get past it. And when LeBron, everybody looks to LeBron for everything, and he's just like,
Mental fatigue.
At the end of the day, regardless how frustrated he is, those other 14 guys, they have a job to do. Do your job, and he won't be frustrated.
And you've seen him do this before with some of the, texts and Instagram posts and things like that. But this postseason, I thought he's been great. I mean, he's all through those tough Eastern Conference series, he's never kind of turned on his teammates, like, comments that you've seen him make in the past. This was the first time this postseason that you looked at him like that wasn't good leadership.
He get a pass.
without question, LeBron's been a one-man show for most of the postseason, dragging a listless Cavs roster to the finals. And now one of his confidants says LeBron is, quote, trying to push through a lot in these finals, and he's not talking about Kevon Looney's screens. Broussard, with all LeBron's put into this year, and all the ways his teammates have failed him, are his days in Cleveland numbered?
I mean, I think they're numbered, but nobody knows for sure. Look, it all depends on what his motivation is going forward. And his group and LeBron have always said it's about winning.
Right.
As it should be. If it's about winning and chasing the GOAT title with Jordan, then you're either going to Philly, Houston, or San Antonio.
My man.
If it's about lifestyle, preparing myself for life after basketball, I've got Uninterrupted and all my businesses out here, then maybe you go to LA and you think, well, me and Paul George, we could be good. We'll be in the hunt, but winning isn't the number one priority to me if you go to the Lakers. Or if it's just my family loves it in Cleveland, does he want his sons to go to his alma mater, St. Vincent St. Mary High School? That's the only reason I can see you staying in Cleveland.
Well,
Go ahead.
I definitely see him leaving, especially knowing LeBron, how he wants to continue his legacy and he wants to win. I think San Antonio is the best spot because when has he played for a Hall of Fame coach?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And this is a situation where he'll be coached, he'll be with the best two-way player in the game, and he'll be in an organization that has banners, that's used to winning. I think that'll be a great situation. If he go to Houston, that's a good look too. But I don't see him being back in Cleveland unless it's a drastic change there.
Well, the problem is, too, is that we talk about, okay, how many more years can he go from a physical perspective? Because he hasn't been hurt, doesn't miss games. But forget that. What I've seen in the playoffs is the mental fatigue. The mental fatigue is so enormous to him. It's overbearing. You can just see it in his eyes, in his body language, because he's had to carry. When we talk about the greatest that ever done it, Kareem didn't have to carry the Lakers. He didn't have to carry the Bucks. Magic didn't have to carry the Lakers. Michael carried the Bulls early on, but they weren't as successful.
And he took a break, too.
And he took a break.
But
you see what I'm saying? So when you look at the dynasties and teams that won it, Tim Duncan had Ginobili, he had Parker, of course he had Popovich on the bench, and David Robinson. So everybody had somebody else. When LeBron was able to relax a little bit, it was with Kyrie. A little bit. But that was for a short stint. Other than that, he's been having to carry the mental aspect of it, answering everything, being at fault, having the highs and lows. So to me, the question comes down when he wants to leave, where can I be mentally free enough to get back to really enjoying the game?
Well, mentally free, we know LeBron's a leader. He wants to be the alpha. You know, Greg Popovich kind of runs that show. Kawhi Leonard's the guy in San Antonio. In Philly, Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons, it's their team. It's their city. That's why I keep coming back to the Lakers, guys. LeBron goes to the Lakers. He is the alpha. He is the man there. But I want to get back to one thing on...
Wait. If he goes to Philly, it's going to be his team.
We'll see about that. I mean,
even if it's for 2 years,
Exactly.
it's going to be his
It's
team.
gonna
Ben
be
Simmons.
If he go to San Antonio,
Simmons-
there's enough respect there where Papa let him be who he is.
Simmons has fashioned
I was
himself. Hold on,
saying
Broussard.
early in the
Ben
year,
Simmons
San
has
Antonio.
fashioned himself as a LeBron Magic type player.
doesn't
Pass
score like
first,
LeBron.
not at this stage, but it's his team, it's his city. Joel Embiid, they run the city after Carson
played
Wentz.
1 year.
Let me ask you a question.
Okay, they are the most
Let me ask you
popular
this.
athletes in Philadelphia.
When he went to Miami, whose city was it?
Dwayne Wade,
How long did it stay his city?
6 months maybe.
Into who came in?
Okay, LeBron, when he was in his 20s,
but listen,
Jim.
his star power is like no other.
No other.
When he comes in, look, it's a lot of stars in the sky, right? But when that comet comes through, everybody pays attention to
So
it.
is the Comet going to be coming in at 33 and a half?
It doesn't
'Cause he's
matter.
Still the best
He's
player
still
in
the
the
best
world.
player in the world.
We all agree James Harden's going to win the MVP, but LeBron,
he's not the
playing
best
phenomenal.
player.
Exactly.
So-
LeBron's
best
clearly
player.
the
But to
best
get back to the question, we've admitted he's out of Cleveland. He's not coming back to this dumpster fire.
We don't know that for sure.
We don't know that for
I mean,
sure.
We don't know that for
if he
sure.
wants to win, I don't think
He's
he
got to
can stay.
leave.
That's
Yeah,
what we're
I mean, the
saying.
team's going downhill. They don't have forward momentum. Now, I do
still
want
got
to
a
say,
great coach.
when he came back from Miami to Cleveland, okay, the Golden State Warriors were not on the radar. This is a team that just lost in the first round. They go 9-2 since they added Durant against LeBron. LeBron had owned Kevin Durant previously when Durant was in OKC, 17-4 against Durant. He's now not 2-9 against Durant since
Because
he
it
went
was
to
a
Golden State.
fair matchup.
He cannot handle
it ain't fair.
He's got,
Yeah.
but that goes to the point of the question. He's got to get out of Cleveland and get himself a team, whether it's
Look,
LA, San Antonio, or what have you.
I'm with you. I was saying earlier in the year, I think he should go to San Antonio. I just don't see him going to the town.
The city.
Yeah, I mean, I think the only city like that he would be in would be Cleveland, like non-glamour
right.
city. But I'm with you because Jordan, Magic, Duncan, Shaq, Kobe, all the guys he's compared to had that all-time great coach. He's never had that. With all due respect to T. Lue, Popovich would be that guy. I think if he had played half his career with a guy like Popovich or Pat Riley or somebody, he'd have more
See,
rings.
you know Popovich.
Yeah.
LeBron's been the man for 15 years. No coach has reined him in. He's run the show. He's all of a sudden, at 33 years old, going to go listen to Popovich say, do this, do that. When he's run the show, you could argue he was the GM in Cleveland for a couple years, okay?
But Pop's smart enough to know when you have a player like LeBron, when you have a player like Kawhi, you sit back and let these guys coach the team and play. Tim and Tony Parker, if you look at the Spurs, and it happened all the time, during timeouts, Papa give Ginobili or Tony the clipboard and stand out there and let them draw the play. He want players to coach. He want guys like LeBron on his team. Kawhi's not that guy. He's quiet. He's laid back. Tony's done. So he need a guy like LeBron to come in and be a vocal leader. LeBron's never played with a guy like Kawhi, ever. Yep. That'll be special.
Well, I tell you what, too. Steve Kerr said this. They said, Steve, with all this talent, how do you manage to stay out the way? How do you he said, listen, I try not to F it up. Because I do all my prep. We do everything in practice.
Right.
But in the game, that's when the players really have to have a voice. And when you trust the players that you have, it's a lot easier for a coach on the sideline to allow his players to have a voice. This is when you don't have trust, when the coach is always intertwined in each and every play, each and every time down the court.
Welcome back. I'm Jason McIntyre, Steven Jackson, Jim Jackson, Chris Broussard also back. Let's return to the finals, which is what Andre Iguodala is trying to do for Game 3, being upgraded to questionable, with Steve Kerr saying he's hopeful Iguodala can play tomorrow night. I got to say this, if the series needed anything, it was a better Warriors team. I mean, come on, with Iguodala back, this would be a guaranteed sweep for the Warriors, right, Captain Jack?
Absolutely not.
Oh, come on.
Guarantees, nothing guaranteed. Did Dallas think it was guaranteed when we was an 8 seed and they was a 1 seed?
Point.
All right.
So it's no guarantee. You still have to go out there and win the game. Now, I would say this. They're super dangerous when you have him at the point and you got KD, Clay, and Steph playing off the ball. That's no better offense than that when you have three of the best shooters in the game playing off the ball. He makes them so much better, but guaranteed? No guarantee.
Yeah, I'm
Sorry,
with Jack.
come on,
No, not a guarantee.
You have to go out there and
now,
win that.
Good chance? Yeah. But look,
Really good chance.
Yeah, really good chance. Last year, they got a game with Iguodala playing.
Right.
I'm just saying they're going to get one game. That's it. It should be Game 3. I'd hate to see them in Game 4 if they're down 3-0. But I think LeBron James is good for one game. You know the role players. We saw it against Boston, how much better they'll play at home. So I think
Before you go, let me add, they won one game last year when Kyrie had 40 points. Continue.
But they shot almost
Korver can't do that.
60%
24
and barely won.
That's
Wow,
true.
Korver's
with
good.
Kyrie.
That's a good.
Let's let.
No, I'm
good
just saying, but good point there, because now when you put Iggy on the point, you got 3 guards, you got to guard off the ball. But I think there's a misinterpretation in regards to his defense. in regards to how he shuts down LeBron. So I dug into the numbers a little bit. In 2015, when they played that first championship, LeBron averaged 35, 13, and 8, but he shot 40%. Okay? But keep in mind, Kyrie and Kevin Love didn't play.
Yep.
So now the defense, as you know, can shrink in and
Right.
help. You put two guys around LeBron, 2016-17, 31 points, 11 rebounds, 9 assists, but he shot 52%, 38 from 3.
Who's playing defense?
So what does that tell you?
Same guy.
Now you can't help as much. So Iggy on the island by himself is not a LeBron stopper. And I don't think he said that, but I think the misinterpretation is Iggy comes in and can shut down. No, it depends on who's around LeBron
So
and
does
how
he
much
have
support.
enough? This is closer to
He-
2015.
And that's my point, because he took 32 shots in that 2015 series, okay? A game because
Yeah.
he didn't have the help. Think about the number of shots and attempts he's taking now because he doesn't have help. It just helps a guy like Iggy if I know that if I'm guarding LeBron, Steven, I got to push up on him. If I get beat, I got help.
Draymond.
I got help around this, so we got to keep in mind in that offensively he's going to help, but defensively, don't get locked in and think that Iggy by himself locks down LeBron.
All right, now let me posit this here. Okay, so the Warriors talked about the Bulls a lot when they chased that 73 win, or they set the record for wins with 73. You know what Michael Jordan's Bulls never did in the finals?
Go 7 games.
They never swept anybody. They went 4-1 against the Lakers and then 4-2 5 straight years.
But gentlemen, so
these Warriors, they wanted that record of 73 wins. They got it. I believe they mentally, let's sweep LeBron. Let's go all in Cleveland. Broom him, do something to the best player in the world, y'all want to say. And let's see what people will say about us then. Are we then historically better than the Bulls if we sweep LeBron
But
I
out
don't
of the
think-
And
finals?
compare, look at the teams the Bulls had to play in regards
Exactly.
to what this iteration of this Cleveland Cavs is. Portland, Seattle, Utah, those teams weren't going to get swept.
And I don't know that looking back, anybody's gonna say, oh, well, they swept somebody in the finals. That means they're better.
Well, not somebody, Chris.
The
This
Showtime
is LeBron
Lakers
James.
got swept. Magic and Kareem, do we hold that against them when they played Philadelphia with Moses and Dr. J? It doesn't really. Last year, Golden State was as motivated as ever. Had blown it the year before. You had Kevin Durant, who was chasing the ring, and they could have swept. They were up 3-0. They didn't really put the foot down on the gas.
The Cavs
I know
also
the
hit
Cavs had
24 three-pointers
ridiculous-
a record. It was one of the best games ever.
And that's the only reason we talking sweep, because they shot almost 60% that game and barely won with Kyrie. The reason why we saying sweep, Kyrie's not there. So it's possible that Golden State can go in and get both of these games because LeBron has no help. His supporting cast has been trashed. So this is why people saying sweep. This is the only reason, because he's by himself.
Hey, let me go back to Iguodala for a sec. Again, in the first 3 games against the Rockets, Iguodala guarded ISO, Harden, and Chris Paul. 41 possessions. They made 1 basket against him. I know they're not LeBron, but Iguodala, knowing that Draymond's behind him and Kevin Durant, who's an improved
It's
defender.
a different guard.
Right.
It's a different guard when you're talking about Chris Paul and
James Harden.
James Harden. LeBron puts so much pressure because of physical size. But again, it goes back to the fact that if I'm defensively, I'm going to shrink in a little bit.
But that Rocket series was the best thing for them. To be able to,
Oh, yeah.
everybody had to
Everybody
guard.
go, right?
Everybody had
Yeah.
to work on their one-on-one defense. Cleveland don't have that many one-on-one players. It's really just LeBron. So everybody can,
What
Looney, all those
Jordan
guys.
Clarkson, don't disrespect him, Steve.
stop.
Yeah, he disrespecting himself. Point blank. We ain't doing it to him. He missing
The
himself.
question is, does he play hood a little bit more,
has to.
knowing you need size and somebody else that can create off the dribble?
He said he would. Ty Lue said he would today. And I think you give it a shot. I mean, but look, Hood's got to deliver. He's a free agent this summer.
Right.
And it's not looking good for him. So I throw him out there. I mean, you got to empty the bench and see what you got.
You don't have many other options. Welcome back. I'm Jason McIntyre. Cowherd and Whitlock are off today. Joining me now is longtime NFL coach, Super Bowl winner, and the man with the best hair in football, Rob Ryan.
Thank you.
Rob, let's start with the team you know well, the Patriots, who finally got their quarterback back today, with Tom Brady taking a break from his rigorous offseason workout on a yacht in Monaco to show up for the start of minicamp. Brady, of course, skipped the team's voluntary OTAs for the first time this decade, and rumors of a continued rift with Bill Belichick have been swirling for months, though the coach says they're just not true.
Is it good to have your quarterback here?
It's good to have all players here. It's always good to work with all players.
I feel like you and Tom are kind of in a good place right now and a good understanding where each other sits.
I've always had a good relationship with Tom.
Oh, boy. Rob, you think Brady would say the same thing about Belichick?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, these guys have had such a long relationship. Look, I was there for the beginning. You know, I was there I can remember a story when we're getting ready to play the Super Bowl against the Rams. And they move you into a new hotel the night before, and you don't know anything. You can't call anybody's room. You can't check on anything. And as a coach, you know, I got to do my job. You know, I want to have some fun. So I'm like, oh, man, I'm scared to death. So I got to go down to make sure I'm on time for the meeting early. So I'm 2 hours early for the meeting. And so I'm like, man, there's nobody here. You know, I hope I'm at the right spot. And then, so I walk into this room, and out of nowhere I look, and I'm already deep in, about 5 rows in. I see 2 people, Belichick and Brady, and they're going over the tape. They're going over the game plan. I'm just sitting there like, I just take a seat like, okay, I'm watching this. And their relationship is unbelievable. They're going through every play, you know, how it's going to go, what defense they're in. This is what I'm looking for. This is how they're going. And they were preparing for the biggest game of Brady's life and probably Belichick's and definitely mine. And so after about 15 minutes, I snuck out going, oh, my God. I come out, and then the place is packed. And I'm like telling everybody what was going on. But it was neat to see that kind of relationship. And look, both people are special. Brady's the best quarterback that's ever played. Belichick's the best coach. So they have a great relationship. And remember, Josh McDaniels has been the offensive coordinator there with Brady for so long. I mean, they have an amazing relationship. They can bounce things off, talk about kids, doing all that stuff. So believe me, this is going to be healthy. They're going to be great, and they're the team to beat next year.
I mean, again, people seem to be overreacting a little, right? It's 17
absolutely.
years, the relationship's great.
Right.
And then this past year was a little rough. It does feel, Rob, like the balance of power has maybe shifted to Brady, right? Brady got Garoppolo traded. Bill didn't want to do it. And then the whole, you know, Malcolm Butler stuff that we've talked about on the show ad nauseum. It feels like Brady kind of is in control now, maybe. Would you argue?
Well, I think, look, I think the whole team, those 2 run the team. And look, Belichick was fortunate enough to have Brady drafted in the 6th round, Dick Rabine's recommendation. I was there for that workout in Michigan, so I never thought he was going to be any good, but apparently he was pretty good. But it's an amazing relationship, and there are bumps in the road, of course there is. You know, you know, it's not always cake, you know, and ice cream for me, you know, with my wife, but she runs the show, and I know it.
I won't say the same because my wife's watching. Moving on to Green Bay, where Aaron Rodgers has had an interesting offseason, with the Packers unceremoniously dumping his favorite target, Jordy Nelson, and his quarterback's coach. He also watched a team break the bank for Kirk Cousins, which got rumors flying that Rodgers has been trying to renegotiate his own deal. But the quarterback says, don't believe everything you read.
Well, I mean, I don't talk about it to the media, and I don't think my agent is either. So a lot of it is just conjecture, or, you know, stories that aren't really based in factual interactions or misrepresented actions. You know, I don't have anything to report at this point, but I'm sure there'll be some unnamed sources close to me that have some sort of scoop along the way.
Rob, does that seem like a happy man to you? Do you think Rodgers is happy in Green Bay?
I think he got hurt by losing his quarterback coach because they developed a special relationship, and obviously his receiver Jordy Nelson. You know, that's something he obviously didn't want to happen. But look, Aaron Rodgers wants Green Bay. Green Bay wants Aaron Rodgers. I mean, he's got the best agent in football. They're going to work it out. It's just a matter of time, and he's going to be well paid, probably the highest paid player in the league. You know, he and Brady are the best 2 quarterbacks. So I'm sure it'll all work out, but it's just, you know, the timing. I'm sure, you know, he was upset by the way things did, but I bet you he's real happy Mike Pettine's there as a defensive coordinator now, and I think he's ready to make a run.
I don't know. It's still in his prime, hasn't been to a Super Bowl in 8 years. I think we're going to talk about this more as the summer goes on. All right, to Des Bryant, who is still unemployed since the Cowboys told him to take a walk almost 2 months ago. Now, reportedly, the former Pro Bowler is waiting until training camp to sign with the team. That's if anybody actually wants him. Rob, you think Des can still contribute to a winning team?
No question about it. I mean, look, I was in New England when Brian Cox and Roman Pfeiffer were given up on from teams like that. And Pfeiffer led the league in tackles about 10 years, and Cox is an all-pro. We picked up both of those guys during training camp, and we had the worst team in football at the time. We picked those guys up and won the Super Bowl that year. And it was the impact Brian Cox made, especially as a leader. One of the best leaders I've ever been around professional sports. And it was because he wanted to win. He knew how to win and do those things. Des Bryant's going to move the needle for somebody. He's a super talented guy, an incredible worker. And what you see on the outside is not what's inside. You've never seen a guy play hurt, have his fingers taped together or cemented together so he could play. This kid is tough. This kid loves to win. He competes hard every day.
All right, Rob, but wait, you're saying all this good stuff. Why is he still on the market 2 months later? How come
Well, it's his choice. I mean, the Ravens, I wish he would go to Baltimore. They have an unbelievable defensive coordinator, and Don Martindale is going to help that team go. And they need a player like Dez, and I wish he would go to Baltimore. But Dez is going to pick where he wants to go, and he's going to move the needle for somebody. I promise you that. I just believe in the young man. I've been around him for 2 years, and I was so impressed by him and what he can bring to the table.
Let me float a team for you. You know them well. How about the New Orleans Saints? Okay,
Well,
strong quarterback, strong head coach in Sean Payton.
Right.
And again, they picked up Adrian Peterson last year, took a chance on him.
Right.
Didn't work out in the first month. They got rid of him, and then they moved on quickly. Still had a good year. You know Sean Payton well.
Right.
Do you
I
think that Des
Sean
Bryant
could definitely take him. I think Sean, had the year off, unfortunately, when he was living in Dallas. I'm sure he saw a lot of Des. So it wouldn't surprise me at all. Look, it does take a strong coach. It absolutely does. Sean Payton's one of the strongest, most established in the league. Drew Brees certainly at quarterback. So that'd be a great spot for him. And it might be the guy to actually put him over
Make
there.
it happen, Sean Payton.
Yeah.
Make us look good. To Los Angeles, where a young, exciting team is setting expectations sky high this season. Not the Rams. I'm talking about the talking about the Los Angeles Chargers. Yes, you heard me right. The Chargers, who finished an exhilarating 9-7 and missed the playoffs last year. They're now getting some serious hype courtesy of defensive end Melvin Ingram.
This Super Bowl we're going to win, to be real. And we ain't been to the playoffs in a while. I think it's going to be crazy, man. This Super Bowl we're going to win going to be, we ready. Nah, it ain't added pressure. I was taught you got to speak stuff into existence. If you want to do something, you got to say you're going to go do it, and then you got to go do it.
Wow, Melvin Ingram talking up the Chargers.
Yeah.
Can they win the Super Bowl this year? Rob?
Well, I tell you what, it's hard to win the Super Bowl when you're playing a road game every game. So it's unfortunate because Anthony Lynn, you talk about doing an amazing job. Anthony Lynn came in there, had to move a team. Yeah. Every game's on the road. They have an 0-4 start because they can't kick the ball into a net.
Yes.
Mindless to say that, to kick a field goal. So, but look, with Phillip Rivers playing like he's 25 again, they got a 1,000-yard rusher. They have the best offensive line that no one's heard of because of Pat Meyer, the offensive line coach. I mean, they got Russ Washington and Walt Sweeney. No, they don't. Those linemen blocked for him for 40 years ago. I mean, I don't know who's blocking for him,
right.
But now they got Pouncey, so he'll make them better. Yeah. And a couple of those draft picks that hopefully will stay away from the injury. And then that's not even mentioning their defense, which does a great job of pressure in the passer. They have great coverage behind them when they get the corner Verrett back to go with Hayward. Those are two of the best corners in football.
Let's not forget the AFC is pretty weak outside of Patriots, Steelers, and the Jaguars. It's wide open, is it not?
Yeah, and those are some great football teams you mentioned. But this conference has always been a real tough conference. You know that. I like Denver adding their quarterback. I think Case Keenum's done a nice job. So he gets a great defense there, and maybe he can move that team. But I love the job Anthony Lynn's doing. So I look for this team to be improved and really making a push for the playoffs.
The LA Chargers. Welcome back, Steven Jackson, Jim Jackson, and Chris Broussard are back. Let's move to LeBron, who hasn't kept his feelings about how the finals are going a secret. Having an existential crisis on the bench after JR's meltdown in Game 1 and admitting it sucks to lose after going down 0-2. But here's the thing. LeBron should be used to losing to Golden State at this point. I mean, look at these stats. He does it so much more against them than any other team he's faced since his return to Cleveland, including 2 finals, of course. Jim, have the Warriors hurt LeBron? Don't laugh. Have the Warriors hurt LeBron's legacy?
But you're talking about one of the best teams that ever has come together. So, of course, his record is not going to reflect it because he doesn't have the cast of characters that Golden State does. So, Even if he was closer to 500, that's a yeoman's task for what he has to go through. Does it affect his legacy? In the short term, what people will say, yeah. In the long term, no. Because what he's been able, he's changed the game so much as a former player. What he's done in regards to on and off the court, his impact from an international, national perspective is unheard of. Michael Jordan set the tone early with the shoes and doing everything. LeBron has taken it to another level from an international perspective. Not all superstars are able to touch that. You're talking about an impact that serves everybody that comes along. You're talking about he changed the way now practice is, the way travel is, the way training camp is.
How much people get paid.
How much people get paid.
The way teams put together, players now putting
so
teams
all
together.
of these you got to go into. When you talk about legacy, it's not just on the court and the winning and losing. It's all the impact in which he brought to the game. Polarizing, there's only been a few, okay? It's only been a few. In individual sports, you're talking about like a LeBron James, Serena Williams, a Tiger Woods,
Tom Brady.
a Wayne Gretzky, but a Tom Brady. But polarizing, it don't hurt him, man.
I think the only place that hurts him is in the GOAT conversation. You know, I think, look, I've got him second best all time. I think you got Kobe ahead of him.
Not anymore.
I hope so.
Okay.
Jackson.
So most people seem to have him second to Jordan, you know, and so you're not moving him below Kareem or Magic or Olajuwon or anybody, Shaq, Kobe, because he keeps losing to the Warriors. It's just in that conversation with Mike. Mike, 10 straight scoring titles, 6-0 in the finals. Now you can say, Mike on his watch wasn't gonna be no dynasty. You know, whether Mike could have beat these Warriors or not, once he started winning, there was only one dynasty, and it was the Bulls. And so LeBron can't say that. So that's where it hurts him.
I don't think it's hurt. I don't think winning or losing hurts his legacy at all. We talk about probably the best all-around player we've ever seen. 7, 8 years straight in the finals. I think for the most part, his legacy is stitched in stone. We talking about not only just basketball. We talking about the first star to speak up on social issues and stand up. We talking about the first star that hasn't had a scratch in the media. We talking about the first star that's changed the game as far as not just for himself, but for every player in the game. His legacy is there. You talking about Michael Jordan? Yeah, he might not pass Mike, but he's in his own lane. I think he's in his own lane. He might not get as many championships as Mike, but as far as changing the game and who he is and what he's done for the game of basketball, he's right there with Mike, but Mike just got him by championships.
That legacy question is tough, you know,
His
because
legacy's there.
all the stuff you guys said that's ancillary, that is 100% true. No disagreement. But as we talked about earlier in the show, we're setting up for a summer where LeBron, because of the Warriors, he's going to have to go to another team. So to contend with these guys, the Warriors have shaped his legacy, whether he wants it or not. What Steph Curry has done these last 4 years, and then adding Kevin Durant. When LeBron came back to Cleveland, these guys they were not factors. What they've done in the last 4 years has been incredible. And I do think on court, it's impacted his legacy.
Well, but who's writing the narrative? Because right now, it's most of us that have played and lived in the era of Michael Jordan. So we're seeing the GOAT. But the guys are going to be writing the narrative 10, 15 years from now are younger than us. So their narrative and their perspectives will be totally different.
Yes.
See, look, Wilt at one time was the most unstoppable force. But then came Kareem. Okay, then came Magic and Bird. Then came Michael. So whoever was living during that time of those guys, he was the greatest ever. Then somebody else came in and said no. So 20 years from now, the young kids who are watching, they're going to be telling the stories about who's the greatest. They didn't see Michael Jordan.
Say LeBron.
They said LeBron.
And remember, Jim, people talk about legacy for Jordan. You guys, we never talk about him losing to Shaq and Penny in the East when he came back from baseball, and we never talk about him with the Wizards and his failures to get to the playoffs. We don't talk about that. It's a race.
But that's why losing would never kill someone's legacy, because everyone has lost.
That's a fair
As long as you have championships, as long as you've been dominant, as long as you look, you can't put too many players on LeBron's spot and they go to the finals seven years in a row. So his legacy is stitched in stone. Losing would not change his legacy.
The interesting thing, though, is that LeBron has kind of created the Warriors. Not the Warriors before KD, but I don't think if LeBron doesn't go to Miami, I don't think there's any way KD goes to Golden State.
Right.
First of all, I don't think it crosses his mind. Like, that ain't cool.
Chris,
can't do
wouldn't
that.
you
Secondly, if it does cross his mind, I think he's like, no way.
But wouldn't you argue that LeBron left for Miami because Danny Ainge brought in Kevin Garnett and Ray Allen to create the Celtics super team after LeBron took Cleveland to the finals when he was 22?
He needed help
so
to
I don't
get
want to
through
blame LeBron for super teams because I love them. I think they're great for the league.
Well,
I would blame Danny Ainge.
player-generated super teams. There was the Showtime Lakers, Bird Celtics,
Yes,
Dr. J. Mosman. They were super teams, but LeBron created the player-generated super teams where players are talking in the offseason, let's go here,
he
come
started that.
join.
Yeah, so what are we going to say?
Banana
LeBron
boat, the
goes
banana
to
boat.
Yep.
Yeah,
And that's a part of his legacy, too.
So, Steven,
Right.
LeBron goes to Houston. I don't think it's happening. Is he ring chasing? He's joining a 65-win Rockets team.
You can't
People are going to say that historically.
You can't say the best player in the world is ring chasing when he has rings. He just wants to be better. He wants to win. It's not really ring chasing when you have rings. Ring chasing is for guys that don't have rings.
Charles Barkley.
Right. He has rings. He just want to be in a better situation and want to win. You got to respect that.
All right, to Oklahoma City, where Carmelo Anthony isn't having the best month on social media. First, he lost his mind when somebody on Instagram dared to suggest Kyle Korver had a better season than him.
I get it.
And now his own teammate, Steven Adams, just liked an Instagram comment trashing Melo, though Adams claims it was just his fat fingers. Steven, are you buying what Adams is saying here?
Oh, man, nah. No way. No way. I ain't buying it. You know, I'm on Instagram more than anybody.
Yes, you are.
And I don't accidentally like Chandler Parsons' page. and I publicly apologize to him. I publicly apologize to him for everything I said about him. But no, he did it on purpose. Obviously, you know, that team didn't have the season that we wanted to, but I love Melo. I think Melo's still one of the top players in the game. But I definitely think Steven Adams, I know he's lying. There's no way fat fingers caused that. You like that. You like that post.
You like it. See, the thing about Melo, too, is that we all go through this, and not even at Melo's level. At some point, your game, you got to readjust who you are.
Right.
Look yourself in the mirror. And until you get to that point, you're going to be fighting the past demons of who you once were and trying to prove. He has to get to that self. But I will say this. I've been on Twitter or Instagram where I've hit it and gone on and come back and I've liked something that I didn't want to like.
But you can't unlike
But
it.
I can unlike it.
Right.
I go back and see it. So I can understand if you hit it, but I always try to go back to see if I've done something to see, to make sure.
But Jim, this wasn't a post. This was a comment under.
See, that's what I'm saying, the comment
You
under.
read comments on Instagram?
I
do. Sometimes, because sometimes it'd be funny. Sometimes you got whatever the post is, sometimes it could be a narrative in there, and people go come back at you. Same way on Twitter.
Okay.
Sometimes I want to see where the question came from and what prompted it and who responded. So.
I also think, and I'm not saying this is Westbrook or even Paul George, but for Steven Adams to like this, let's say he did it on purpose. I think he did.
I do too.
I think he's talking with some teammates, and they're looking at it like, number one, Melo didn't have a great year. In the playoffs, he only averaged 11 points on like 37% shooting, was horrible from three. And then, to your point, on top of that, he says, I ain't coming off the bench.
Yeah.
So I think he's just because, look, Melo's a first ballot Hall of Famer in my book. So it's not his legacy, but right now he's no longer that guy. At least they don't feel that way.
But is it in Steven's nature? We haven't heard anything from Steven Adams in regards to complaining or saying he's always been a team-first player.
Yeah.
So that's why it leads me to believe that it may be a shred of credibility here because it's not a pattern been set up by Steven Adams because he could complain about a lot of stuff over the years.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? And he hasn't.
Yeah.
So why all of a sudden now is he being a little bit more vocal?
Let me put it out there. Melo's due $27.8 or $9 million next year. They cannot want him there, Broussard. There's no rate. They don't want him.
Don't matter.
So if you're looking for somebody
He's
to
gonna opt
like,
into it.
okay, but hold up. If you're looking for somebody to like an Instagram comment, is Steven Adams not the? He's a class act. It was on accident. But you now have the narrative out there that they don't want him. I mean, that's a little diabolical maybe for some people's taste, but I wouldn't put it past any of these teams when you got a guy like you said, Melo don't want to come off the bench.
Well,
he's not a team player.
Well,
he's getting his shots, Captain.
I think it's like my cousin said, Melo just have to look in the mirror. At this point in your career, you have to buy in and play a role, bro. Yeah. I mean, and that's just what it is. You're not going to be the star. You're not going to get 20 shots. You have to slow your game down and be a post-up player because you can't beat nobody off the dribble no more. You can't do that. And you have to find your threes. You can't just come down and shoot threes no more.
He doesn't even defend or try to, though.
That's the whole NBA to me.
Check this out. If I'm a GM, we talked about this. Melo has an option to opt in. He can opt out and try to go to the market. if I'm OKC, I'm saying, listen, you want to opt in? Fine, get your 27.9, but you're coming off the bench. You put the onus on Carmelo now to make a decision, because if he opts out, he's not getting that money on the market.
But who's not gonna come off the bench for $20 million?
That's why you got to put it on. But that's why you got to put it on Melo to say this is where the team is going. It's up to you, bro, whether you want to opt in.
I thought he gave him an out when he came out and said, I'm not coming off the bench. Stan Presti should have been like, Melo, let's go out to dinner.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Like, look,
exactly.
You coming off the bench and wait for him to make the move.
But Melo's a smart guy. You know, I think he comes along with me with being first team all common sense. You know what I'm saying?
You're giving him a lot of credit.
No, you're right.
He got common sense. Ain't nobody. He's not giving that money up. He's not giving that money up.
Why can't he do what Dwayne Wade did in Chicago and say, fine, give me a little bit less?
But he's not.
But why?
He's not.
If they gonna
He
give
wanted
him,
to go to Chicago.
Well, then life's good. Get ready for more teammates taking shots.
I think that's where this will go. I think that he'll opt in, and then they'll buy him out. Instead of giving him 27, he might get 26 or something. You know what I mean? 25.
They'll buy him out later
They'll
in the
buy
year.
him out.
They got to buy him out early,
but it
Jim.
depends on if, again, the conversation has to be had. Hey, listen, we need you to come off the bench. This is the role we see you in. If you go opt in, this is what
Jim,
I'm
he
going
said
to
it
do.
twice. He doesn't want that.
But listen, let me tell you, if he doesn't want it, he can opt out.
Right. Drive
He
it
got
home.
a decision to make. Right. You put it on
But
the
who's
player.
gonna have that conversation?
Hey,
with
Russell
him?
gotta be
Westbrook.
present.
Hey, where's Westbrook?
Well, they're going to send Troy Weaver.
No, it got to be present. It got to be. It
That's
got
a
to be
little
present.
inside basketball. Welcome back. Chris Broussard is here for last call. Let's move to Isaiah Thomas. Both of the Isaiah Thomases, in fact, who went on Jimmy Kimmel last night and faced off in a trivia competition, which led the younger IT to take a shot at his former team.
What is the name of this alien? Do you know the name of that alien?
Guys, I've watched that numerous times, too. I'm like the Cavs. I'm going to get swept.
No, he went there. Broussard, you like Isaiah trolling the Cavs?
I love it.
What?
I love it. IT got robbed, ripped off by two teams in the NBA. He puts his heart and soul out there for Boston. They trade him.
It's a
He
business,
puts his
Chris.
heart and soul out there for Cleveland. They trade him after
Put his heart and soul.
15
He
games.
was banging on Kevin Love in the locker room arguing. He wanted to practice.
What happened when he went to the Lakers? He ended up having to have surgery.
He got injured.
He played through that in Cleveland. 15 games. And I know Isaiah's looking at it like, I could be out there helping LeBron. Yeah. I would be out there getting buckets, not doing what Rodney Hood and Jordan Clarkson and these guys are doing. I love it.
Yeah, he would be torching the Warriors, of course. Sure. Elsewhere in the NBA, former Duke star Wendell Carter Jr. is getting ready for the draft and says that he and his Blue Devil teammates will be able to show a lot more in the NBA than they were able to in college. Broussard, is this a shot at Coach K?
Not at all. This is just reality. I mean, when you go to a stacked program with a bunch of other great freshmen, they have 4 freshmen that average in double figures. It's like at Kentucky. Karl Anthony Towns averaged 10 points at Kentucky. He got to show a lot more elsewhere.
You know, Carter got into Harvard, didn't go there. This guy's too smart to take a shot at Coach K.
You with me.
Yeah. Hey, good time.
Good job, man.
A lot of fun.
We finally agreed on something.
Agreed on a few things, man. Come on. We'll see you guys tomorrow.
I'm starting to worry about that.